Oi, Hale. Today, I would like to talk about the concept of grammatical case and how it relates to Old English. Now, grammatical case is a feature present in some languages whereby a word will change its form depending on the function it's serving in the sentence. An example of a modern language that has grammatical case is German or many of the Slavic languages like Russian or Polish or Czech or Slovak, or even other languages like the Irish language, the Scottish Gaelic language, the Romanian language. Now, there are many ancient languages that used to have complex grammatical case systems like Latin, ancient Greek, Old English, Old Norse. So I would like to talk about how grammatical case works in Old English specifically. Now, we actually have remnants of grammatical case in modern English, which I'll talk about in a minute. Now, the number of grammatical cases in a language varies. So a language like Latin has about seven grammatical cases. A language like ancient Greek has about six, like one less than Latin. While a language like German nowadays only has about four, and that's the number we're dealing with in Old English. Old English has about four grammatical cases, or really only four grammatical cases. Now, the functions of each grammatical case are, of course, varied, but each have their own set of rules and circumstances for when they apply. So, the first grammatical case that you will learn in any language that has a grammatical case is what we call the nominative case. Nominative indicates the noun, indicates the base form of the noun, of any noun that you learn. So when you look that word up in a dictionary of whatever language has a grammatical case, the form they will give you is the base form in the singular, unchanged, nominative. So that is comparable to any noun in English, just unchanged, singular, nothing done to it, or even pronouns. In fact, it's not only nouns that can have a grammatical case, but really any word that can serve a function in the sentence that follows another noun. So, like a pronoun stands in for a noun, or an adjective that follows a noun, or the noun itself, or determiners that follow that noun, like the words this or that, or articles like the words the or a, and many others. Now, the nominative is a base form. So, using modern English pronouns, I will attempt to show the differences in case to give you an example of a modern case system, fossilized case system, so that it becomes clearer what each case does. So the nominative, for example, is comparable to pronouns like I and we and they. It's the subject form, and actually, that's another word that you can use. The nominative is it's what indicates the subject of the word or of the sentence. Since it's a base form, there's nothing being done to it, so it is the subject. It's what does whatever action or acts, whatever in whatever sentence. So this is like I, we, and they. I see this, we do that, they go there. Now, the second case that applies to Old English is the accusative case. Now, the accusative case is the form of the noun that indicates an object. It indicates what suffers the action of the verb. So we call it the object, but not object in the, let's say, general sense of thing, but object is in the, it's kind of like objective, the thing that we're driving the action towards. And so that would be a different form of the word to indicate that it's the the object. In a language like Latin, it would be a different form. In language like German, you would change the article, instead of the normal "the," it would be like a different form of "the" to change to show that this is the object. So this is comparable to the pronouns me, us, and them. So in I see this, I am the subject, of course. We do that, they go there, these are all subjects. But then if you say they saw me, well, they still the subject, but now me, I am the object. It's I that is being targeted by the action of the verb. So they saw me. So that is a different form of the pronoun. So you see that there's a fossilized version of this case system in modern English because we have different forms of the pronouns for when they are the subject and for when they are the object. I see that, but they saw me. And the same thing with us or them, I you see us, I see them. So now the next case, which is actually another case that we have fossilized in English, but not just in the pronouns, but actually in nouns, in actual nouns. So this is the only case that we can say has been maintained in modern English. It's fossilized, but like still productive in modern English, which is the genitive. Now, genitive, this name has to do with generation, has to do with things that you own, things that you produce that are yours. So it's the idea of like generating things like offspring or generating anything. So that therefore that thing is yours. So genitive means the thing that you own, or when you want to say this of mine or things like that. Now that is what we do in modern English when we attach the apostrophe s to a word. Like you have Bob has a dog. So that is Bob's dog. So you see there that's a fossilized remnant of the genitive. It worked very similar to that in Old English, this attachment of the s to indicate a genitive of the noun. So we have that in the pronouns as well. We actually have two forms of the pronouns, if you will, that can indicate um, genitiveness. um, and that is the pronouns, the possessive adjectives, which are my, your, our, their, her, that we can stick before a noun, and that indicates a possession. My dog, her book, your bag, his house, their car, our teacher, things like that. And we also have the possessive pronouns, the proper possessive pronouns like mine, yours, hers, theirs, ours, his, which doesn't change, but so my dog, so this dog is mine. But really, when you say mine, what you're saying is like of me or like me's, or I's, like apostrophe s. So it's a genitive construction there. And the last case that we have in Old English, which we don't really have fossilized in English anymore, at least not obviously, is the dative case. Now, dative indicates an action that is done to something or to someone. So it's like the preposition to, but without having to use the preposition to. You just change the word to indicate that. And it indicates what we call formally the indirect object. The indirect object is, well, the object is what suffers the verb. So verb goes to the object. So then the object, or rather the direct object, which is the accusative, it goes to the indirect object, so to the dative, because the indirect object's not suffering the action of the verb, it's suffering the object. Like we're directing the object to the indirect object. So we direct the verb to the object, to the direct object, and then we direct that direct object to the indirect object. There we go. I think I used direct too many times there. And dative, because it's like to give, it's from the Latin dare, which is to give. Uh, we have it in the English word data, for example, like the things that are given. Data literally is Latin for the things given. So data. Um, or even like dates, like any given date. It's like any given day given, so any given date. So the dative is fossilized in modern English, but it is virtually identical to the accusative pronouns. So like me, your, you, him, her. Like if I say, "Give me the book," so what I'm telling you is give the book to me. But instead of saying to me, I'm just saying me. I don't have to use the to indicate that you're giving the book to me. I can just say, give me the book. But then we have to do this thing where we put the dative pronoun before the accusative word or accusative pronoun. So we use the order to disambiguate whether this is an accusative pronoun or a dative pronoun. Because if I say, give me him, that would be give him to me. So the to me has to come first. Give me him. But if I say give him me, then it's give me to him. So, uh, now we switch the order. Now the roles have changed. But you wouldn't need to do that in Old English because the marking on each noun makes it clear that this is the role that is displaying the sentence. So you can jumble the word order around and it would still make sense. In Old English, if you were to say something like give him to her, but instead of like give him her, but you wanted to like jumble the word order around, you could say give her him, and it would still mean give him to her and not give her to him. It would still mean the same thing as the other sentence. Or her give him, or him give her, or him her give. Like you could put these words in any kind of order and it would still make sense. Maybe some of these word orders wouldn't be that natural to say, but they would still make sense regardless because everything would be marked appropriately. So that's really the advantage that grammatical case gives you, is that it makes it so you don't have to rely as much on word order and on prepositions, though you still need to rely on prepositions for some cases. The cases don't cover all of them, unless you are speaking of a language that has so many cases that it kind of covers every preposition. And even those would tend to have prepositions still, or postpositions, or any kind of word like that. Um, but in the case of Old English, because there's only four, you still got to deal with some preposition. But in this case, it's at least one less that you got to kind of deal with. Though there's a preposition to in Old English as well. It's not really used for the dative in that way. So that has been an introduction to grammatical case, and I hope this has been clear. And in the next video, in the next lesson, then I shall show you how to change words to their respective cases in Old English, depending on what class of noun they are, and also gender, as Old English has grammatical gender. Grammatical gender is also something I shall explain next time as we cover the nouns. So that's about it. I hope this has been informative, and see you next time.